Welcome to Worldview Matters, discussing controversial issues, discerning current events, defending biblical Christianity. No topic off limits. And now, here's your host, David Fiorazzo.
Friends, family in Christ, thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you. We appreciate you sharing the podcast. We've got our friend Olivier Melnick back with us, and I've got some exciting news. You know, he was in Green Bay, Wisconsin this year for the Worldview Matters conference. Well, we're doing another one, and next year, I've got it right up right now. It's live. The website just went up. You can get your tickets on Eventbrite. You can see all the speakers if you go to worldviewmattersconference.com. That's worldviewmattersconference.com. The theme is Redeem the Time. Once again, same theme. There it is. And it's going to be at the Tundra Lodge Resort, Water Park, and Conference Center on Lombardy Avenue in Green Bay, Wisconsin, just down the street from historic Lambeau Field. All right, Olivier Melnick, shalominmessiah.com. That's his website, shalominmessiah.com. Brother, always good to see you. Thanks for your time today.
Hey, thanks for having me, David. It's always good to be on your podcast, and lots going on, and we could probably do one a week and still not cover everything.
Exactly. And there's always things to notify the body of Christ about, equip the saints. But so you were just at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania at the Abraham to Armageddon conference. Our friend Brad Reeves, Brandon Holthouse was there, J.B. Hickson, Tom Hughes. You guys, I watched it online. It was a great conference. Tell us a little bit about that. And then I also want you to share a little bit about your experience in Green Bay when you spoke at the Worldview Matters conference.
Well, the Gettysburg conference was incredible. It was Pastor Brad Reeves' first conference of that magnitude, really, with all the speakers and organizing everything like you recently did for you as well. And there's a lot of moving parts when you do something like this, and it went really well. What amazes me is that when we go, and I do quite a few of those conferences, I am invited to quite a few, with usually the same usual suspects of the speakers. We come in and there's an overarching theme, and we're not really told exactly what to speak on. Occasionally we are, but most of the time, the person inviting us says, will let the Spirit lead and, stay within the theme. We cover the theme and we overlap a little bit on each other, but it's amazing how it's almost like we have a meeting prior to the conference, and we all say, okay, I'll do this, you'll do this, you'll do that, and it will all fit nicely as pieces of a puzzle to make a clear picture. But we don't do that. We just show up and say, okay, I'm speaking on this. Oh, I'm speaking on that. It's going to overlap a little bit. And then at the end of the conference, we go like, wow, we covered a lot of ground. We overlapped, we repeated a little bit, but it all fits nicely into this end times prophecy, Israel, Bible prophecy. And so it's always a joy to see how this is all going to fall together. And was the same for your conference, David, although it was not specifically an Israel-focused conference, but it was really on the importance of taking the Bible seriously. That's the way I'm looking at it. You had all kinds of speakers. As a matter of fact, you don't know this, but at your conference, I met Seegert,
yeah.
And we had tables next to each other. He spoke, I spoke. We hit it off. Next thing you know, he's telling me about those tours he's doing in the Grand Canyon, creation tours. And Ellen and I just got back from the tour last week.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
We signed up and we had a blast. It was incredible. I would recommend Starting Point, I think it's called.
Yep, the Starting Point Project.
Starting Point Project. Anybody who's interested in visiting the Grand Canyon and looking at the Bible and being equipped to discuss the Bible and God with atheists, and it's just amazing 3-day tour. We needed a vacation. Yeah, there you have him on the screen. We needed a vacation. Ellen on the plane back, she goes, Olivier, I'm so tired. We need a vacation. We were on the bus the first day for 14 and a half hours.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So yeah, it was incredible. So thank you for bringing him to the conference because
Yeah.
now we're friends, and
That's
so
great.
there was all those different aspects of taking the Bible from different angles, seriously looking at what the Bible teaches us. Of course, I brought the anti-Semitism aspect. You brought the creation, and there was so many different things. And your conference was really. Really, really well attended, and it was great. And then next year is going to be even better. Although I'm not going to be one of the speakers, so it can't be that great.
We couldn't squeeze. I don't want to spoil everybody. He didn't want to bring you back again. No, Jay's he's going to be here next week, by the way. He's going to be in studio next week
Oh, awesome.
on our podcast. So, yeah, what a blessing. And I'll tell him you did a commercial for his ministry
yes.
on your podcast. In a minute, Olivier and I are going to talk about the progressive conditioning against Israel. But one more thing briefly, Olivier, sorry. We doubled the occupancy for next year's conference. I just want to be honest with our audience. I don't have a massive team and staff and ministry building and facility and all that. I put a lot of my own money into the conference. So I raised the registration fee. It's $89 for 14 speakers over 2 days and a 60 to 90 minute Q&A panel on Friday night. We'll see how that goes, but it's going to be a great conference with a lot of great guests and speakers. You can, again, friends, worldviewmattersconference.com. It's not cheap to put these on. I want to do it right. I'm thankful for you and the others who took a chance on coming to Green Bay for the first one. There's a lot I learned and a lot I need to improve on as far as hosting a conference, but Lord willing, each year, unless Lord takes us home, we will continue to do this, Lord willing. So thank you again, Olivier, for your ministry. You spoke twice. One of two speakers. Nobody next year is speaking twice, by the way. So,
and by the way, I don't know if you remember, I spoke twice, but I was suffering from a terrible cold, and I was miserable, and it's happened to me a few times when I go speak at a conference and I get there and I'm sick and I'm like, oh my gosh.
But you couldn't tell. You couldn't tell, and see,
I could tell. I could tell.
You could, but you know what? Sometimes when we're not feeling well, that's when we focus more, and God just, sometimes it's even better. But anyway, Olivier. So before we jump into the progressive conditioning against Israel, I just want to talk about what's going on in Texas briefly, because I came across an article our friend Nathan Jones at Lamb and Lion Ministries wrote. And the Dallas-Fort Worth area is home to 62 Sunni mosques and 5 Shia mosques for a total of 67. And this is one of the largest and fastest growing Muslim communities in the U.S. So as a fellow Texan, are you concerned about what's happening in a so-called red or conservative state?
Yeah, of course I'm concerned. I got to be honest with you. I've been keeping an eye on for lack of a better word, the Islamic invasion of America since I started my study and teaching on anti-Semitism, which was in 2000, so 26 years.
Wow.
And it's been increasing. A lot of it is what you could call a stealth jihad, where there is Muslims would get, they would have a lot of children, grow their family, and not really integrate in the community. They would show integration, but they're not really honest about it. Many of them, infiltrating different levels of government slowly, patiently, until they have more of a voice. And all of a sudden, in the last few years, we've seen, and I've been in Texas, I'm not a long time Texan. We moved in September of 21, so it'll be, next month will be just, 5 years. But I've seen an increase in building mosques, building madrasas, which is like, Islamic schools and Islamic centers, 45 minutes from us, like in McKinney and in the Plano area, Allen, McKinney, they're building. There was this place called the Epic City that they're trying to build, and right now the Texas government basically they're postponing the inevitable because they're stopping or slowing down the building of that area simply by finding loopholes in the building permits, and in a way of saying like you can't do it that way, so you're gonna have to go back to the drawing board and get back the paperwork. So it's adding another 3 months, another 6 months, but they're not really seeing the big picture of the Sharia law takeover of the state, which is what's at the end of the day, that's what they're trying. So that coupled with all the different Islamic red green axis players that are popping up in different states now, like Al Sayed and Mamdani for a few months now, you know. It's picking up momentum, and recently, I think I might have read the headline today or yesterday. I can't keep up with when and how much I read every day, but I mean, you know what I mean, and
Yes.
our viewers too. The Dallas Fort Worth DFW Airport is installing foot washing basins in the airport bathrooms.
Wow.
And here is the question I always ask um, in to people when they do that. If you're going to install in a public bathroom a foot basin for Muslims, would you also install in the middle of the terminal in a corner somewhere a place when there are prayer shawls for Jewish people to go, put them on their head, and have their prayer time?
Of course
The
not.
answer is no, because it's a public place.
Yeah.
But yet, for Muslims, there's never a question. I don't want to sound racist because, people say, well, you're an Islamophobe. Well, you know what? Maybe I am an Islamophobe, but Islam is not a religion, it's an ideology. I have
Yes.
nothing against Arabs. They need Jesus, just like the Jews, just like anybody else in the world. But the teaching of Islam, I don't agree with. And for them to push that on us, basically, David, what I think is happening here is that that section of Islam trying to push a takeover of Texas, basically, the subliminal or the unspoken message, we should say, is basically if we can conquer Texas, we can conquer anywhere in the U.S. because we are the red state, gun-toting conservatives, Texas. And
Yeah.
if they can conquer Texas, then everything else in the U.S. is basically fair game.
I think you're spot on. I think that's part of the strategy because Texas is like that's the big prize. I mean, California would be, but California is a progressive blue state. But Islam's growth rate has risen 500% over the last 50 years. And their two strategies are holy war, jihad, and immigration. Well, there's no holy war, as far as the physical violence in America. In other countries, yes. In America, no. But immigration, they're using our system to, populate our countries, and state by state. So we just have to be aware this is happening and continue to challenge this because you're right. It is demonic, and so is anti-Semitism. It is demonic and irrational. That's part of your definition. So let's segue now, Olivier, into the progressive conditioning against Israel. We've talked about their accusations of occupying land over there. When it's, to me, that's just amazing that people think that way when you look at a map that Israel is an occupier. But let's start with colonization. We haven't talked a lot about that word and the meaning and how they use that accusation. Let's start there, please.
Okay, so and by the way, just to wrap up what we talked about, Islam and Muslims, not every single Muslim is to be looked at that way, like they're trying to take over the world. I mean,
Yeah.
Our ministry, I have a man, a driver who picks me up to take me to the airport and picks me up and brings me back home. And, he's not on payroll, he's not on staff, but he's my main driver. And he's a Muslim, he's a practicing Muslim. Literally, when he picks me up sometimes at 5 a.m. to take me to the airport, he has to readjust his prayer. I mean, he is a Muslim. And we talk about Jesus in his car. We talk about me being a Jew, him being a Muslim, and me being believing in Jesus. And he goes, Olivier, this is very confusing, but this is fascinating. And so we get along, and there are a lot of Muslims who just want to get along.
Thank you.
And so just want to make sure that is said as well, because I don't want you or me to sound like we hate all Muslims, because we don't.
No, we don't
You know,
hate
we don't.
them.
Well, we don't hate anybody.
It's the
It's the
ideology
ideology,
that is
right?
anti-Christian,
Not the people.
anti-Jewish. Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I was doing research recently for another presentation that I made, and I realized that there's been a progressive indoctrination, conditioning of the masses towards rejecting Israel and accusing Israel, and that progressive it was like in four steps: colonization, occupation, apartheid, genocide. We're at the point right now in 2026, David, where in just about anywhere you go, and you hear or see or read about, anything from the Israel's foes, the enemies of Israel, the enemies of the Jews, the word genocide pops up all the time. And I don't support genocides. I'm against genocide, and free Gaza from the genocidal people, and on and on and on. And so we didn't get there just when they say, okay, yeah, they're doing genocide because of October 7, and they're going and they're killing poor Palestinians, forgetting what happened on October 7. This has been a progressive thing. First, it was a colonization accusation that came with Yasser Arafat in the early 60s, when he, a Egyptian-born Palestinian, was placed in a region to destabilize the region. He was put there by the USSR back then, wanting to destabilize the region. And then he accused Israel of colonization. But Israel, you look at it biblically or historically and geopolitically, Israel has the right to exist in that land. If we had time, we could develop this Balfour Declaration and the San Remo Conference of Balfour 1917, San Remo 1920 in Italy, and then the 1947 vote at the UN. All that put together gives Israel an undeniable legal right to exist and to thrive in the land of Israel, and from a legal standpoint. But
Right.
for Christians, above that,
Yeah.
and stronger than that, is the biblical precedent that we have. When God gave the land to Abraham and his descendants through
Yes.
the son of the promise, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Genesis 12 is the promise. Genesis 15 is the covenant with the boundaries, the Abrahamic covenant, giving the land boundaries. Then in Genesis 26 and 28, through Isaac, through Jacob, not through the Arab lines, not rejecting the Arabs through Ishmael, just saying that I selected this lineage through the Jewish people. I'm God. This is my prerogative. Deal with it. And so we have a biblical precedent, which I would put first, and a legal and geopolitical precedent, making Israel the real place for the Jews to live and to build and to exist, which is not colonization. Colonization is when you take over land that does not belong to you. You colonize it like the French did, the French Empire, like the British Empire did. The sun never sets on the British Empire. That massive landmass taken by those two countries over centuries. Nobody is talking about that today. Yet that little sliver of land that is so small, like the size of New Jersey, everybody is talking about the Jews colonizing. And so you've got colonization, then you got occupation. It's not enough that we colonize and we expand our territory. Now we are going to get in and occupy that territory. And again, we are being accused of occupying a territory that was never not ours to start with. I've been on your show before when we talked about the meaning of the word Palestine. We're not going to repeat it. People can find the videos on your channel, on our channel at shalomandmessiah.com, on our YouTube. They're there. Palestine is an invention. It's just an invention. It was the name that was a landmass until 1948, and then it became a politically charged word that means that poor Palestinians are being displaced. But we're not. The Jews are not occupying land, because you occupy something that's not yours. And then today, we are being accused of occupation. Even a place like Amnesty International just recently published a report saying that Israel continues to occupy, and for the last 3 years of the war, they have occupied Gaza. That's a lie. That's a
Wow.
lie. There's
Yes.
no Gaza occupation by Israel, and as a matter of fact, it's not for the last 3 years. 2005 is when 9,000 Israeli Jews were asked to take everything, including their dead bodies in cemeteries. Get out of Gaza. We're going to give it to the Palestinians so they can build their own infrastructure, their cities, their schools, their hospitals, and live in Gaza as a Palestinian Authority region, and even make it even a resort, seafront resort. It's a beautiful area over there. The result is all that they did with all the money that was poured in that area, and all they did was to build an underground structure
Yeah.
of tunnels that led to the mass murder of October 7,
Yeah.
2023. That's what's happening. There's no occupation. There's no occupation.
No, and as you said earlier, what the Bible takes precedent, and then
Yes.
what happened historically with the Balfour Declaration. But let's just say, in that land covenant, Israel is not even close to living in the land that God drew out the borders for clearly, specifically in Genesis. So go ahead, Olivier.
That's going to happen in the millennial kingdom after the 7 year tribulation, when Israel will no longer be the size of New Jersey, but it will be the size of twice the state of Texas. I kind of like the idea. And so, you said Israel's not even close to have the land. Now, the land boundaries were given by God in Genesis 15, verses 18 through 21. All the different people group, the Girgashites, the Jebusites, all those things, those peoples, the Canaanites, and you put it all together, that's twice the size of Texas. But right now, Israel has never attained those boundaries, and it will be in the millennial kingdom. But what I find fascinating is when you compare Islamic takeover, or the desire for Islam to create a global caliphate on the entire planet. There's no end to where Islam wants to expand. The end is basically when the whole planet is a Muslim community, then they will say, okay, everybody's at peace because now we take over the whole earth. Okay, that's the limit. The whole planet. They keep going. They keep going. They keep going. Compare that to Deuteronomy chapter 2, verses 2 through 5, and verses 9. At the end, verses 2, 5, it says, let me read the passage real quick. And the Lord spoke to me, saying, you have circled this mountain long enough. Now turn north and command the people, saying, you will pass through the territory of your brothers, the sons of Esau, who live in Seir, and they will be afraid of you. So be very careful. Do not provoke them. And listen to this, David, I will not give you any of their land, even as little as a footstep, because I've given Mount Seir to Esau as a possession. And Esau is through not the Jewish line, but the Arabs. And then in verse 9 of the same chapter 2 of Deuteronomy, then the Lord said to me, do not harass Moab, nor provoke them to war, for I will not give you any of their land as a possession, because I've given Ar to the sons of Lot as a possession. So we have God telling the Israelites, I've given you boundaries. One day you'll have them all. But don't try to take lands that's not yours, because I will not let that happen. That's the difference right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so biblically speaking, the land it belongs to the Jews, and there's no occupation, there's no colonization. But the next level is, first you colonize, you grab land that's not yours, and you make it to expand your territory of your country. Then you occupy, you get in. That's the accusation. Then once you occupy, you find out that you really don't want the people that used to be there to be there. So you make a separation, and that's what you call what we've been accused of with apartheid. And apartheid basically is something that happened in South Africa, and that was a terrible thing. It was horrible how a white minority treated a black majority, and basically pushed them away and separated, and there was a superiority and segregation, and it was basically all racial. Now, the wall that's been built in Israel what's fascinating is that that wall, which is part wall, part fence, depending on where you drive, since it was finished, which I believe is in 2022, the most of it, so it's about 4 years old. By then, David, 97% of the deaths based on prior to the wall by terrorists had been avoided. So there was be a 97% decrease in death toll inside the walls since the wall was put up. So it's not a wall to separate because of racial superiority. It's a wall to protect Israelis inside that wall. The wall exists on both sides. It's not a wall. No, but people don't think that way. It's not a wall that keeps the Arabs out because we hate the Arabs. You know what? The Jews are on the other side. They have that wall to look at too. And that wall exists on both sides, except that it's a wall to protect them, not to separate from the Palestinians. It's to protect them from the terrorists. And again, not all Palestinians are terrorists either. 2 million Arabs live in Israel with very good conditions. I know some. I have friends in the old city who are Arabs that I purchase things from when I go visit, and they're very happy to live in Israel proper.
So we're talking about the progressive conditioning against Israel, and the final one, it leads to the accusations of genocide.
Accusation of genocide. David, you're going to love this, and I know we have very little time left, so I'll have to speak fast. Recently, by the time you post this, it will probably be 2 weeks old or something, 2 or 3 weeks old. The UNICEF, the children's section of the United Nations, published a report literally a few days ago saying, like, we have to be honest with the world. There's no starvation of children under 5 in Gaza. There's no famine, no starvation. They've been pushing this genocidal country, killing through starvation and famine. And 1.3% of Gazan children suffer from malnutrition, as opposed to 5% in Iran and 12% in Syria and all other countries. 1.3%. There's no genocide. This is the only country, Israel, where they tell people when and where they're going to hit some structures and then go seek shelter. We're going to bomb that building because Hamas is under it. And nothing like this has been seen in conventional warfare except what Israel has been doing. And 50,000 children have been born in the Gaza Strip since the beginning of the war. If we are genocidal, we're not really good at it.
Yep, exactly. So again, friends, colonization, occupation, apartheid, and genocide. This is the progressive conditioning. We have to understand the truth and know how to respond and defend this. Brother, thank you. It goes by so fast. Blessings, Olivier. ShalomandMessiah.com. To be continued, brother.
God bless.
Friends, thank you for sharing this one. God bless you. And as always, keep speaking the truth about things that matter.